I was a little quiet. Sorry about that. Hello, everyone. I'm a little rusty. And welcome. No, I'm not rusty. I'm Brian. And welcome to the Space Game Junkie Pod. I'm already screwing up, you guys. Just fall off the horse.
Stop interrupting yourself. Stop interrupting. Welcome to the Space Game Junkie Podcast. I, as always, am your co-host Hunter, and join me, as always, is your co-host Brian.
Hi.
And our co-host Jim.
Yeah, I've been listening to like my Prince CDs, man. I'm really into this Helium Rain, or purple Rain. I don't know. It's something.
That's what we have on the stream. Actually, that's because it's such a surprise. To me.
Helium Rain. It's weird because everybody talks like Munchkins.
Oh my god!
Because they've got like that helium.
And your co-host Spaz.
Hello.
We are back after a short hiatus. I want to thank everyone for your patience. I hope you enjoyed the reruns that we chose to play some of our favorite episodes. The one about Artemis is still. Remember that one, Jim? That one still blows me away. That one, like,
yes.
That one's like our biggest record scratch of all like 200 plus episodes we've done.
Yeah, we're like 20 minutes in, and then it's the sound of squealing tires. And
Wait a second, you worked on The Secret of Vulcan Fury? Forget Artemis. We need to talk about this. Oh my god.
I do regret that we never got to play Artemis with the guy, because that would have been cool. Like, what was his name? Tom?
Yeah, I believe it's Tom.
Yeah.
I've never really played Artemis, honestly.
Well, that's a problem. I own it. I think you can play it. Well, even if you can only play it on the LAN, we can still play it on the LAN, right?
Right.
Because we have a LAN.
I wonder why
it's a long LAN.
I wonder why we've never done that. Like, it's like never come
Quintet bias.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Probably.
Quintet and Pulsar, I think, took our time.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing with Artemis is you can't really play it alone, which is unfortunate, but that's the way it is.
That's true.
You know, I did one time though, like, because I've got this multi-monitor setup. I fired up multiple clients on my machine and tried to like run everything. It's not easy.
Hunter's fucking botting Artemis. That's you can tell you're like a dedicated Eve player, because it's like I'll bot anything. I run 5 instances of Word whenever I'm typing a document.
Jesus, what?
Well, folks, yeah, we took a couple weeks off. Needed a vacation and other reasons. So we're back. Happy to be back. We did try to get a guest tonight, but it just didn't work out. So we thought we'd kind of have a loosey-goosey show. Try and get back into the swing of things after being off for a couple weeks. So I wanted to talk to you guys about what you've been playing over the hiatus. Jim, let's start with you. I can probably guess the game you're going to mention, but just hit us. What have you been playing lately, like over the last couple weeks?
Well, I've been playing a lot of Warhammer.
Total War? Total Warhammer?
I'm terrible at. I'm total loser at that game.
Oh, it's so. I
can do. And so what I ended up doing, I was just like, oh god, this game, right? So it's like, okay, I'll reinstall Total War Attila and see if I can figure it out there. Oh god, no, I'm just as bad with Attila. So on the battlefield, I'm great. It's fine. Like, I understand the whole rock, paper, scissors of, spears and cavalry and swords and stuff. That's cool. Whenever you're on the economic map and you're dealing with like territories and like how many people in what army are you going to leave in what town to defend it, and what kind of like peace treaties are you going to get with the neighbors and stuff. And it's like, I played a lot of Civilization. I played a lot of 4X games. I am just completely shit at this game.
Yeah.
I just, wow. I don't know what the deal is. But then I watch people on YouTube play it and they're just like, that's trivial. And it's like, what are you doing?
We should actually try and fire up a game of a Total War of something, because I've actually managed to suffer through well, no, I've done the original Shogun and the original medieval Total War, and I've played through all of Shogun 2 Total War and a good chunk of like so like I'm pretty familiar with how a lot of those mechanics and like work and like what to look for.
Yeah,
so
I remember back when we tried to play Attila, right? It was like we took the Norse, or I think it was, and we were trying to make a go of it because they were like the two smallest factions. So it's just like we'll just sit up here and mind our own business and kind of trade like salt and stuff with each other, and but we didn't
never finish. Like because it's time consuming.
It is very time consuming. Yeah, it's what I've taken to doing though is like if I'm just gonna win the battle, I just auto resolve it, just to get it over with. I know the meat of the game is to play the battles out, but I'm trying to get the economy figured out. So it's kind of like the battles are in the way of like I just want to play it like 4X.
I'm actually with you. I prefer the turn-based stuff to the real-time stuff. I mean, I love them both, but
yeah. Well, it's like, I watch people on YouTube, and whenever they're showing like all these majestic battle scenes, and and they're just like zoomed in, and the horses are thundering by, and it's beautiful and everything, and so they're showing like replays in slow mo with the camera like locked to a unit or whatever. It's almost that game. What it needs in the replays is it needs a smart replay director, much like the Forza car games have, where it's just like, hey, I'm going to watch a replay, and then it goes through all of its cinematic cameras on its own. Like whatever camera would best show off the bling right now, we're going to do it. And I think that game definitely needs a cinematic thing, right? Because it's like, well, whenever the horses come crashing into the swordsman, it should cut over there, right? And of course, in the replay, not when I'm trying to actually play the game, but whenever you're playing it, it's like you're zoomed out and you're just like directing ants that are that are running around. And but through playing like tens of hours of it, I've actually gotten pretty good at micromanaging my little dudes. Not so bad. There's a lot of like keyboard tricks that you have to kind of learn. And then of course there's active pause too, but I've kind of gotten over needing that. But yeah, so pretty cool. And then I installed, because I've been playing so much Total War Warhammer, I installed Chaos March from like 2003 and was screwing around with that. Dude, that game is Total War Warhammer from 2003. Really? Straight up. Except the campaign is not like a big 4X map where you do what you want. It's linear. You go from battle 1 to battle 2 to battle 3. And sometimes there's a branch, it's like you can take a little optional battle off to the side, but it's a very linear campaign. It's like this is 10 battles long, this chapter, right? And it's just like attrition, right? Like don't get your dudes killed, because the guys you start with are the guys you finish with. And you might like be able to recruit some units along the way, but if you get a unit killed, they could just be gone. It's not like, oh, I lost all my bows that battle, I'll go hire some new. Nope, you play the rest of the game with no archers, so don't lose them. As I found out in the first battle when my wizard got killed, it was like, oh, let's restart, because that's the only wizard I could get. But it's happy enough to kill. It's like Game of Thrones. It's like, oh, sorry, killed your wizard. Even though he's a key character, we weren't shy about killing him, so deal with it. I'm pretty sure that George Martin actually wrote this game. I don't know.
What was that one really difficult Warhammer game that's reminding me of that?
Shadow of the Horned Rat.
No, that the one after that.
Oh,
that one was great too. But what's the Dark something? Dark Omen. That was it. That was
like full of Shadow of the Horned Rat. It was Dark Omen, I think.
Yeah, that was the follow-up to Shadow of the Horned Rat, and they were both so like brutal.
If you didn't get enough abuse from the first one,
exactly,
the second one.
Yeah, I played Dark Omen first, and then went back to Shadow of the Horned Rat, and
that was a mistake.
It was, but I don't know. I got into strategy games kind of late. But yeah, I also read that with Total Warhammer, the new one is going to link up with the original one.
Yeah, so that's the thing that I found out today, because I have been very curious. And, I think that you and I are the only people on Earth that don't have the damn game yet, because it's like you turn on YouTube and there's 500 people that are like, "Hey, look at my Warhammer 2 campaign," and it's like, okay, I feel like I have not now. You know, you would have thought that the game released last month. So many freaking YouTubers have that thing. So, but hey, good marketing on their part, right? I mean, they're saturating YouTube with it. But yeah, it's interesting. I was very curious because I'm watching all these YouTubers play this thing, and it's the new campaign, and it's like, well, you got your high elves, and you got your dark elves, and you got lizard men, and the Skaven, right? Skaven are going to be assholes, man. I'm not looking.
They're assholes in any game. They're always assholes.
They're bastards, right?
Even when you're playing them, they're assholes.
Oh, if any unit is going to be super OP, it's going to be Skaven. I guarantee it. Because they've got all the weird toys, and it's probably hard to balance that. But anyway, yeah. So I'm looking at that, and it's an interesting setting because it's like this ring of islands, and then there's like a big warp vortex in the middle, and it's apparently like the vortex that's sucking all the chaos out of the world or something. So of course, chaos wants to come in there and screw that up, right? And different people have different agendas about this vortex, so they're all fighting over it. And it's like, okay, well, that's the high elves and stuff, but in the tabletop game, though, it was like the high elves and the Empire fought each other and stuff. So how do we do that? And well, what it turns out is whenever you own both games, they link together and you get one big map. And they said that the original Warhammer 1 map is completely untouched. And then they bolt the other map to the side of it. But the other map is like way bigger. So they said they had to kind of like twist it a little bit to make it fit with the other one. And it's just kind of like, okay, but they apparently there was like some coastal places that they had to lose to fit them together or something. But, apparently no real important factions down there or something. But yeah, I don't know. I just think it'll be neat to have like the vampire counts go like roll over the night, the high elves.
Yeah, I may need to get this second one now because I've played the first one a bit and I really like it, but I'm terrible at it. So I'm like, I don't want to go back because it's just gonna kill me again. But it's very good, and the fact that they're mixing the two together, that's more games should do things like that.
Oh yeah, because it's just gonna idea. Well, that's the thing we were talking before the show about how people release DLCs and stuff and they split their community. Well, here they're not. Right. So it's just like, hey, I've only got Warhammer 1, but you've got Warhammer 2. Okay, well, you know what? My dwarves can fight your high elves. Fine. Not a problem.
That's pretty great.
Yeah.
That's pretty great. So, Hunter, what about you? What have you been playing?
Well, man, it's been weird, right? Because what was it, like June through now? It's been kind of an awkward summer, I think, for me at least.
Yeah, you had that big move. You had that huge move.
Right. I had the big move, and then I was talking to Jim and Spaz about this earlier. There's just been like a lot of heavy workload at work. And since I'm the sole IT guy, we occasionally have some contractors come in and assist me with big projects, but I've been running around doing all kinds of work with that. So it's been kind of hindering my hobbies, right? Like, it's just kind of like I don't really have time for those because, you got to adult sometimes, right? I hate adulting.
I know, it's the
worst.
You
got to do it. You got to do it. And so I've been just casually playing stuff really more for me and stuff, really engaging with like gaming communities. So the remaster for StarCraft came out, so I've been playing a bunch of that. Which is actually kind of cool how it works. You just hit F5 and it like takes off all of the new stuff, and it's like you're playing old school StarCraft again. I've been playing a lot of StarCraft 2. Actually, turns out one of my roommates also plays StarCraft 2, so I'm just like, wow, we can LAN party it up in the house and play some StarCraft. So that's been fun. Been playing both of those. Playing a little No Man's Sky now. The new content's out for it. I've been casually enjoying that. And
has your opinion improved on the game at all?
Well, I think I think really what it is for me, I think the sting of like the way it all kind of got fudged up has gone away. If you understand what I'm trying to say.
Sure.
The
Time has healed that wound. Right.
Okay,
well
so
for
suggestion.
me at least, right?
Let me interrupt for a sec because you guys are starting to robot, so we might want to switch the channel in Discord.
Oh, really? Okay, hang on.
Yep.
Folks, sometimes we get robotic because Discord likes to have a hiccup, so I'm just going to switch servers. 1 second.
Yeah, because you were talking to Hunter, and then you went full RoboCop. Drop it.
How do I sound?
We should be
You're
back
fine
now.
now.
All right. Well, what was I saying? I can't even remember what I was saying. Oh, right. So No Man's Sky. So
Yes.
like the whole, because it happened a year ago, right? Because it was like August of last year the game came out, and it was just kind of like a big letdown with everything. So more than anything, I think like just kind of getting over like the stupidity of that and just letting the game kind of sit for a while. They've had a few content upgrades, or I guess expansions, more or less, free DLC, add-ons, that kind of thing. And then this latest one added a whole bunch of stuff. And so for what it is, I've actually been enjoying it, especially with some of the new stuff that they've added. It's really given the game a lot more variety in my opinion, because there's like a whole new like economy thing you can do. It's still a very simplistic game. It's not overly complicated. So I've been enjoying that. Been playing Eve still. Dabbled in. I guess there was like a couple of weeks I was playing a lot of PUBG, PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds,
Oh, right.
and I started up on Conan Exiles because I got a key for that, so I started playing a little bit of that. Now that's an interesting game because I really like the lore and the backstory of Conan. And I'm getting kind of frustrated playing Conan Exiles because it's forcing me to be a survival crafter, and I kind of want to like explore and like live in this world of Conan rather than trying to just survive.
Do you want to Skyrim it instead of like Ark?
Right. Exactly. So that's kind of the frustration I'm dealing with because Conan Exiles I think is using the same engine as Ark, and it's that same kind of game really, except for there's no dinosaurs.
Which really is an omission, honestly, because I'm playing Conan and I'm just like, man, I wish I had a dinosaur. Because I got like big back into Ark because Joan jumped back into it, right? And what the trigger was for that is that Dark and Light came out, and it's very much the same engine as Ark. Like they took it's like a fork of Ark. It's a total conversion of Ark. So there's, from what they say, none of the assets are the same, but so many of the systems are virtually identical. It's like if you've played Ark, you can jump in this game and you know what you're doing, right? So like the key bindings are all the same and stuff, except instead of dinosaurs, you have unicorns and dragons and shit. So it's like Lord of the Ark. But but it's very early. But I think it's interesting though that it came out and it at EA launch supposedly has as much content in it as Ark does now at release. So it'll be very interesting to see where these guys go with that. But anyway, so we were watching all these videos of that, and I'm just like, I want to get into that, but we still got Ark. I got the Ark server. We need to get back onto that. So we jumped in there, and Joan just went like full nuts on building stuff. And
well, it's got that new map though. I mean, that new map I think really makes a difference.
Yeah, that new map is awesome, actually. And then I put some mods in there, like quality of life stuff, like platforms plus, pillars plus, where you can just build stuff. And then I was looking at Ecos mods, which are gorgeous. And it's just like, I want a bearskin rug for my floor. I want a fireplace that doesn't look like shit. I have a throne with skulls on it. It's like, okay, so it's not really anything that affects gameplay. It's just aesthetics, and then you can like dress up your house or play Sims or whatever. And Joan looked at me weird, like when I stuck all that stuff on there. I'm like, hey man, if I got to be in here, I might as well like have a throne with skulls on it. So, because being me. But yeah, so God, so many dinosaurs, and Dan's been in there building stuff and that. And
tell him what you put in his house.
So they have a mod. It's called the Golden Poo, and it is a giant golden poop. The emoji for poop. It's a poop emoji about as big as an elephant. And I crammed it in his house, dropped it. And it's like right in front. It's like you open the door and it's like this grinning poop emoji, like staring you in the face. And I didn't tell him it was there, and he didn't notice the mod when it loaded because it's really small. And then I was just waiting for him to open the door. And I knew when he did, because he was like, oh my God, It's like Dan opened his door. Joan about fell out of her chair laughing.
Oh God, that's awesome.
Yeah, and what's really great is it also works as a chest. It's like a large storage box. So we ended up putting it over next to the animal pens, and it's actually the poop box now. That's what we store all our. But it was hilarious because as the admin, I could put it there. Dan was powerless to move it. So if I wanted to just permanently like put a giant poop on top of his house, he just could never move it. So it's just like deal with it, because that's what it was made for. It was made as like a thing for admins. If players were shitty, they could like curse their tribe with the golden poop. It's like, don't be a douche on my server, or I'm gonna drop the golden poop in the middle of your town.
But to wrap up me, I'm more or less waiting for certain games to come out more than anything. I'm waiting for the new Sonic game to come out, Sonic Mania. I've been seeing a lot about that, and it's just straight up old school Sonic. So it is out, but I'm waiting for the PC version to come out. The PC version doesn't come out until the 29th.
Ooh.
Okay.
And and I've got it. I had it pre-ordered through, I think, like a Humble Bundle. It was Humble Bundle was doing a thing with Sonic games, and one of the things you could get on one of the tiers was a pre-order thing for it. But since the game doesn't come out on the 29th, Humble Bundle is not going to give me a key until then.
When did Sonic Generations come out? Because that's not bad either. And I got them confused. I thought Generations was the new
Generations. I'm going to their store page right. 2011.
Wow. Okay. I was wrong.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
But Generations actually kind of reminds me of old school Sonic, as opposed to.
In what way?
Like, I don't know, just because it's side scrolling and it's fast, and the levels are kind of like at least the first two levels are very reminiscent of Sonic stuff.
I think you're thinking of the new Sonic 4 that they came out with, because Sonic Generations is very much a 3D like follow behind Sonic game.
Oh yeah, this ain't that then.
You're probably thinking of Sonic 4, which was very much a new looking like 3D side scroller.
Yeah.
And and most of the levels were very similar too. That didn't take off as well though, because it wasn't Sonic. They did them in episodes. They did like episode 1, episode 2, and it just didn't really take off as well.
Well, I think Sonic Generations, it starts as a side scroller and then it turns into the follow thing, because there's two versions of Sonic. There's like 3D Sonic and side scrolling Sonic, and they run into each other or something. I heard somebody talking about it on a podcast like a week ago.
Maybe. I didn't really play it that much, but I mean, looking at the store page, you wouldn't think that was it. But Sonic Mania is getting ready to come out on the PC in 6 days, and I've been seeing a lot of like console like reviews for it. Play Legit's got one that's really good. Cool. The soundtrack for it is just straight fire. And the thing that I love about the Sonic Mania stuff, and I know this isn't space gaming or games that are I've played yet, but
whatever.
The thing that I love about this is the backstory to Sonic Mania. Do you guys know like the whole backstory to it?
Don't know a thing.
Now, what I understood was there was some people that were like modders or something, and they were making their own Sonic game. And then they just like Sega was like blessed it and was like, all right, you're hired. Make the real deal.
Close. That's very, very close. Essentially, It was developed by Headcanon and Pagadoa West Games, or whatever it is. The lead programmer, Christian Whitehead, was essentially like trying to make a Sonic game as like a passion project, kind of like an homage to like Sonic games, and he like showed it to he showed it to like the lead guy for Sonic stuff, the series producer. I can't pronounce his name; it's Japanese. And
then they threatened to sue him if they. Oh wait, no, that's Nintendo. Never mind.
No. They were like, let's do this, and they were like, let's license this. Let's make this a legit Sonic game, because originally it was going to be called Sonic Discovery, and then they changed to Sonic Mania after Sega got on board, and so it became a legit Sonic game, and it's hot.
Well, I'm watching a gameplay video of it now, and other than it being kind of up-resed, I can't tell that this isn't running on a Genesis emulator.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, the collector's edition for the Genesis for the Sonic Mania comes with like a Sonic statue standing on a Genesis. And I think there's like a cartridge or something like that comes with, and like a Sonic ring, golden ring.
That's pretty great.
So that's me. I'm done.
Yeah, it's one of the most frustrating noises I've ever heard in all of gaming is whenever all those rings go bouncing out on the ground.
Oh yeah, no, yeah.
Just like, oh damn it.
I'm not aware of that sound, but I'll take your word for it. Spaz,
play a Sonic game sometime.
Spaz, what have you been playing?
I've also been playing No Man's Sky on my PS4 because, well, they just dropped another update today, and so I wanted to go back and see how that's going. And yeah, I'm kind of with Hunter on this. I like where they're going with it. They've got the beginnings of multiplayer in, and hopefully
something about orbs or something, like,
So yeah, you can. I haven't done it yet, but you can get up to, I think, 16 people who are. Yeah, they show up as orbs in your planet if you happen to be there at the same time, and so you can kind of explore together. But the goal, from what I understand, is to actually get synchronous co-op.
Yeah, they're still developing the multiplayer / co-op. This isn't like the end all be all. They're trying to take baby steps to really get the official multiplayer going. And people are still trying to they're like, hey, you said this update had multiplayer and we're just orbs. Like, how dare you? It's like if you read their description and their comments, they say we're taking baby steps to get to that point.
Yeah, but the orbs, like, okay, you're an orb, I'm an orb. I build a structure. Do you see it?
If you have the sharing turned on.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's I'll say they're
from what I understand
more measured with what they're promising, and that's a good thing, because at least when they say, okay, well, this is the first step to getting multiplayer, that's the goal. They're not saying this is multiplayer, this is what we're, it's done, because it's obviously not. But at least they're getting closer to what they were promising initially.
I mean, it sucks that it's like a year later kind of a thing with No Man's Sky, but at the same time, this isn't the first or only game that'll ever like continue to release content even like years later. So
right.
I like I said, the only thing really holding No Man's Sky back, unfortunately, was their launch debacle, which really hurt them, and I think is still hurting them to this day, because that stigma just stuck with them despite whether or not the game was good or not. You know what I mean? That's the real unfortunate part.
It kind of sounds like, based on what I've seen with their updates and stuff, that like they were in a terrible situation, because it sounds like I got the feeling they needed to release then because they were running out of money, so they needed to release. But what they should have done is wait another year and release it like it is today. But they couldn't because they had no money. That's
Yeah.
like that sounds
Well,
like what happened.
From what I'm understanding, they were getting pushed by Sony to do a release. And so they had to release as it was, even though they knew it wasn't where they needed it to be. If it had been a strictly PC release, they could have gone with early access, and I don't think anyone would have complained because, well, with early access, you would expect that, or at least most people would expect that. So if they'd released in an early access state as just a PC release, we wouldn't have been hearing as much complaining because they would have said, well, we have time to get to a release state that we're happy with.
But you can release early access on PlayStation now and sell it retail, as we found out from Fortnite, which, unless you read the small text at the bottom of the retail box, you would have no idea that that's an early access title that you paid $60 for. Which I think is
upon release.
Right. Yeah. And that's pretty weird.
That is weird.
Yeah.
Well,
pretty weird.
It's actually, now that I think about it, it's not all that weird because, well, Kickstarter has been around for years and people have been paying, and sometimes $50-$60 plus for a game that will be free at release. But they're doing that at the Kickstarter level, and it's during the campaign, as opposed to what they're doing with Fortnite, which is people pay to get into a beta that is admittedly a closed beta, but then will be free upon release.
Right.
Hey, so to switch gears just real quick, there's something I just realized. I don't know if you guys are aware, but I'm gonna share it with you guys in the just one of the channels up here, probably the promenade. But there is a theme park game coming out based around Jurassic World.
It's the same folks who made Planet Coaster. It's Frontier.
Yeah,
same folks who made Valley Dangerous.
Yeah,
Frontier.
So I
just realized this.
I'm not excited about it.
Shocked.
I'm not excited about it at all. At all.
Maybe it'll have Thargoids in it.
No,
Planet Coasters is actually really good.
Oh, I found it so boring. Because it's all about the building and not about the management. And I love the management.
And I understand that frustration. I appreciate Planet Coasters because it's fun to kind of explore what other people have built,
That's fair.
I'm kind of curious though. Like I just find it interesting that Frontier got a license to make essentially it's a Jurassic Park game, right? Let's be real here.
Yeah,
Jurassic
which apparently
Park, same thing.
Apparently coincides with the new movie that's coming.
Well, that's all well and good, but actual. I mean, we've had plenty of dinosaur games over the last years, mixed kind of Jurassic Park-ish games, but we've never actually had an official Jurassic Park game in a very long time. And I don't know. I just kind of got excited about this. And
the last one was
I just realized it was Frontier.
The last one was Trespasser, wasn't it? Wasn't that the last, the late 90s? Was the last Jurassic Park game?
No, man. They in 2003 was the Genesis project, which was the original version of this thing. So Genesis. Okay, so it's basically take Roller Coaster Tycoon. And instead of building attractions that are you actually, and I played this a little bit this week because that trailer for the new game coming out, and I was just like, oh yeah, okay. And somebody, I forget who it was I was talking with in the chat, and they were like, yeah, well you should, check out Genesis thing because his wife really dug it, and so I went hunting, because it ain't like you can buy it anymore. Well, technically you can buy it. I went on Amazon. And if you wanted to buy it for the Xbox the Xbox One, the original Xbox OG, $295 used.
What?
And I was like, nah.
Jesus.
Yep. So I went and hit the abandonware sites, and it's out there.
God.
So I installed it and was dicking around with it a little bit, and it's straight up. It rolls a random island. You can keep hitting the button until you get an island you like, and then you can. Populous style, you can landscape it, and then you drop like, here's my gate for Jurassic Park, and it's a helicopter landing pad and the classic Jurassic Park giant gate. And then it's like, all right, well, now I'm playing Roller Coaster Tycoon. I'm going to put my walkways here. I'm going to put some trash cans. I need a janitor stand here, for people to clean the park. But then instead of putting rides, it's like, I'm going to put an observation tower. And then I set the price for the observation tower. Like, it's $20 to go up here and look at dinosaurs. But then to get the dinosaurs there, you have to have scientists that are out in the field digging up fossils and looking for amber and stuff, right? Oh. And you have to run that, and then as they find amber and stuff, you have to decide, like, do I want to sell this to keep enough money coming in that I can keep the park afloat until I've got dinosaurs and then I can get people in here, or do I want to actually like continue to build the genome of this particular dinosaur? Because the more samples of the dinosaur you get, and the better samples, like amber's the best, right? But you can find like crappy fossils, good fossils, whatever. But the more fossils you get of a particular species, the better the genetic code for that species gets, the longer they live, the healthier they are, everything, right? So you want to try to max out the dinosaur before you put it in the park if you can, but some of them are really hard to find. So I started with some herbivores, and it's just like the first dinosaur that you get. And so you have like a low security fence. So I put one of those, and you put a feeder, and then you put the hatchery, and then it costs like $5,000 a dinosaur or whatever to actually drop eggs in the hatchery. And then they hatch out, and you have to feed them and make sure they got water, and there's no predators going to eat them. If they're in the fenced in thing, you don't have to worry about it. And then I got into carnivores, but you have to do research because you have to upgrade your fences, and you better have park rangers and stuff, because if the predators get out, you have a park full of people, and then you get the movie. So you don't want that to happen. But there's a helicopter that you can actually take control of and fly around and like snipe dinosaurs, trank them out, and then pick them up and carry them to other places. So it's like they're in the hatchery, but then I built like another habitat for them. But I have to get them from the hatchery over to the other habitat, which means I have to have the rangers go in there and trank them, and then have the helicopter come and airlift them and carry them over and drop them where they eventually need to live and stuff like that. So there's a lot to do, kind of thing. It's a really neat game, and it's out there in the abandonware stuff. You can find it.
I'm gonna have to check this out. What's it
called?
Jurassic
Park Operation Genesis. JPOG is the title that it was under when I found it. Or you could pay $300 and get it for the.
I shall not pay $300 for. I have other things to spend that money on. That's pretty great. So me, because I've been busy, I've just mostly been playing Lord of the Rings online, because that's all I've had the brain power for. Because it's just such a relaxing thing. Oh, Spaz, I'm sorry, we didn't finish with you. What else are you playing?
Well, let's see.
Sorry.
No, it's cool. The Lightspeed edition for Halcyon 6 dropped, so
right.
I've been playing that. It's pretty cool. It's a little bit faster than the original.
What, did they streamline the UI, or how did they make
Apparently,
it faster?
It's a separate store page for it. And if you already owned the Classic Edition, which is what they're calling the previous edition, then you already get the Lightspeed edition.
So, but you have both of them in your inventory, so you can play old school or new. So how is the new one different than the old school? Why would I ever go back to the old school one?
If you want a slower game, I guess, because apparently the new one, you could apparently play a whole campaign in 10 to 12 hours, whereas the new one was apparently a bit more methodical.
Was it just like you have to grind a lot more encounters, or
in the old version? Yeah, you had to grind a lot more, and they've cut out a lot of the grinding, and they've also added, they've expanded the skill trees, so you have the skill points you can spend. You have to be a certain level to unlock the next tier in that tree, but you can decide how you want to customize those skills. There's a lot more to play around with. They also added some things that some skills have to take a couple of turns to actually spool up before you can use them. and some of them have expanded cooldowns. So what they did is you can have all the skills you have unlocked, and some of them can only be used once per mission. So once you've left your station, you go out, you can only use that skill once. But at the beginning of every battle, you can edit the skills that you're using for your ships. So if you've used that one skill that you can only use once per mission, you can swap it out for a skill that can be used a bit more often, or every turn if you want to. And that way you can kind of go through your skills if you're on a longer recon patrol, so to speak. You can, if you're going around trying to capture all your, or not capture, but collect all your resources in the early game, and you have a few skills that are in reserve, then you can switch those out and do that on the fly in between battles. I've also been playing the backer beta for BattleTech, and they just added flamers into the mix, so the fire starter is in.
Oh, how is that?
And earlier today, I took a lance of fire starters up against an awesome, and I waited around a hill. Well, here's the thing: I let that thing get close. I ran my guys around the hill and unleashed all the flamers on it at once. Overheated it, shut it down, and then just picked it clean. That was pretty fun. So I'm liking where they're going with this.
Have they put the mech lab in, or you're still dealing with book mechs?
No, you don't have the mech lab yet. Okay. And they also just added a separate beta branch for multiplayer, which I've not gotten into yet because I don't know anyone else who has multiplayer.
Yeah.
So I didn't see a reason to switch over to that yet. But that's going to that build is going to switch over into the main build a little bit later.
So question about BattleTech: like, if I wanted to go, like, I'm late in the game, I want to be a supporter and get my hands on the thing, right? Is it still like the $60 point? Can you buy in, or is that door closed?
You can still buy in up until, from what I read, it's up until 2 weeks before the end of the beta that you could buy into it. So you still have that option.
But you pay double for the game, though.
Yeah, but you get in now.
Right.
And you get to kind of help development along as far as a lot of the feedback that we've given. Because after every campaign, or not campaign, but skirmish battle you fight, you get asked if you want to do a survey, and you can sort of give the indications of where you think things are. And that's optional, but it's helping them along, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, I've put maybe 15 hours or so into multiplayer, or the MechWarrior Online multiplayer BattleTech. Welcome back to AOL. But yeah, MechWarrior Online. So yeah, I don't know. Do you play that at all? Or
no, I've played a bit of it, but not in a few years.
Well, it's time to look at it again, because what they did, like, they have added a whole bunch of stuff. Because, all right, so in the beginning, when the game was pure and just and everything was right with the world, there were no clan mechs. And then they brought the clan mechs in, and apparently they realized, like, oh god, we've screwed up our game. We need to fix the balance, right? And especially in MechWarrior Online, because the mechanic on the tabletop was there was different point values for the clans, right? So it's like, well, you get a star of 5 clan mechs, but we get 2 lances, 8 mechs, right? So it kind of balances out. Well, yeah, not in the MechWarrior Online. So the clan stuff just dominated, right? So it's like, okay, now they come, I don't know what it is, like the 3085, whatever year it was. But they brought all the fancy inner sphere weapons. Like the inner sphere has been like salvaging all this clan crap and figured out, like, oh, well, here's how to make like ER medium lasers. We can do that now. We can do snub nose PPCs. We can do light PPCs. They have rotary autocannons. I'm a big fan of rotary autocannons. And, rotary autocannon is basically like the nose gun on an A10, but I got a rifleman with 1 on each arm. So it's like a double A10. It's great. Shreds. You rip through ammo really fast, though. Let's see. they have just a ton of new tech stuff that's in there. There's stealth armor. I haven't played with that, but apparently you can drop off radar with it. It's like ECM kind of, but it makes you just a real bitch to detect. And I don't know which mechs can actually fit that, because I've looked at some, and but they've got like a light ferrofibrous armor. So like normal ferrofibrous takes up like 14 crit slots, and you get like, I don't know, 10% reduction. Well, if you only want a 5% reduction in weight, and it only takes 7 crit slots. So if you got a mech, you can't really do ferrofibrous. I don't like the stuff personally, because I don't think you get enough back for what you pay for it. But yeah, so there's just a whole whack of new tech that's in there. There's new lasers, new missiles. Oh yeah, medium range missiles are in. I have a catapult that fires 80 rockets every time I click the button. It's ridiculous. And a medium range missile is like an LRM, but they dumb fire, and you get a lot more of them for less tonnage, right? And another thing that's neat is just plain rocket pods, which is a one-shot SRM, and you get twice as many missiles as you'd normally get, and it weighs like nothing. Like you can, I think it's like an SRM 10 is a 10-pack rocket pod, and it weighs 1 ton. So if I have a ton to kill on a mech, and I happen to have a missile slot, and there's no way that I could spend, enough to actually make it worth having a launcher there that I'm going to repeat fire and carry ammo and stuff, but I got a ton and I got a slot. Yeah, I'll put a 10-pack in there, because hey, that's 20 points of damage in your face one time. But generally, the way I play, I only get one good SRM shot before I'm dead anyway. So it works out. It's just all kind of neat little toys, and I'm no longer feeling like clan rage, because I can actually stand toe to toe with them. And the inner sphere mechs have a lot more flexibility, because you're not limited about like how many slots you have and what component, because the clan mechs are pretty much stuck being what they are. You can swap a few things out, but they're very space limited, and inner sphere mechs just aren't. So it's like IS stuff is better now.
Main reason I didn't go back to it is because I'm just terrible at it. It's unfortunate, but that's my skills and not the game.
Got to get good, bro.
It's time for that.
It's like you want to feel good. Watch me play Dota sometime. You'll feel like a master of any game compared to that.
I've actually never played those. They just do not look like appealing at all.
The one to cut your teeth on is Heroes of the Storm.
Yeah, I was about to say Heroes of the Storm.
That's the one.
It's a good learning one.
That would make a nice Thursday night.
It's fun. I mean, I would, definitely want to make sure we had a full team of people on comms together.
Does it take 5?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fun.
I used to play Air
You can
Mech.
play it versus AI. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying, I used to play Air Mech. The original version of Air Mech, I played a lot of. A couple of years ago.
And then how did they fuck it up? Because I know that's coming next, right? It was like I played the original.
Well, not really. I mean, the thing is that they recently released, I think in the last 4 or 5 months, they released the Commander mode, which is a VR mode.
Okay. So is that what I was like when I was talking about, like, hey, you could play StarCraft and with a VR thing, and it would just look like little toy dudes running around on your table. Yeah, and that's basically what it is, right? Does it look like little action figures running around on a table?
I mean, I haven't actually played it myself because I don't have a VR setup yet. But the concept is pretty cool as far as I'm concerned. But as far as MOBAs go, Air Mech was the first one I played. And of course, I was a big fan of the Genesis Herzog's Vice, so if you look at Air Mech compared to that, it's pretty much the same.
Yeah. So conversation that went on like hours ago, because Brian was saying about we're gonna have the guy Baldwin, I can't remember his first name, that made the original Empire
Alec
game.
Baldwin.
Yeah, Alec Baldwin, the good Baldwin.
Yeah,
Not Jane.
why would we have him on? Like that'd be the weirdest conversation. So you like games? No.
We could have Angela Merkel on. I got a picture of her playing Farm Simulator 2017.
She's probably much more interesting to talk to than
She's out of Gamescom.
She's probably much more interesting to talk to overall than Alec Baldwin. No offense to Alec Baldwin, but actor versus world leader. Yeah. Anyway.
So,
anyway.
Yes. Yeah. I have no idea what I was talking about.
You were saying about next
Empire.
Week.
So
yes.
You were talking about having the guy from Empire on, and I was saying without Empire, we wouldn't have had Herzog's Way, and then leading into Dune, and then Command and Conquer, and StarCraft, and all these things. I think Empire is kind of the genesis of that. Even though it's a turn-based game, it's very much like you can see Dune in that game. Like, I'm going to get my jets and my tanks and stuff, and I make like patrol routes for them. And yeah, it's turn-based, but you couldn't have done it real time back then. But it's, I think that's actually like the granddaddy of RTS games.
Yeah. And folks, if you don't know, there's a Kickstarter going on right now for a new version of Empire called the Combined Edition, which basically includes like 20 some years of improvements that these fans have done to Empire, and it's being built in Unity. And
except it happens in space, and all the maps are actually like planets about the size of basketballs. And oh wait, that's Planetary Annihilation. Sorry. Talk about jacking up a game.
Oh man, you had to bring that one up. Shit.
Not all reboots are good boots.
No, this is true. I tried playing that twice, and I couldn't do it. I don't know if it was the globe map or just
in general the game bad.
And I kickstarted that shit too because I love Total Annihilation. Loved it.
The game that I wanted was Human Resources. That thing that was like Cthulhu's versus giant robots, and the Cthulhu's would like eat people out of the buildings. They'd like pick a skyscraper up and tilt it back like they were drinking a beer, and just like pour people in their mouth. The art on that was phenomenal, and then it just died. And I think it died because like nobody trusted them after Planetary Annihilation. It was just like, nope, not giving you the money. Which is unfortunate, but yeah.
Oh yeah, and they released a new version of Planetary Annihilation, and it still wasn't very good. I felt kind of bad because clearly people worked on this, but it's like, oh,
yeah.
Great.
I think the problem was that the planets were like a basketball, and you're trying to like fight around this sphere, and it just didn't work.
Conceptually, Planetary Annihilation was cool. And there was a lot of features that they implemented that I thought were really cool, such as, using moons as destructive objects on planets, so on and so forth. Like those kind of game mechanics were interesting. The execution of like what Jim was saying with the controlling of the basketball planets was really weird because you start tilting in awkward directions, and then your camera controls are awkward, and then it's just like you have these really big mechs on a very small like surface. And your planet
the scale was ridiculous.
Well, that was the entire problem with that game. Is if the planets had been like 10 times bigger, it would have been
or
fine.
The unit's smaller and you just zoom in really far, or something.
Same effect, yeah.
Right, yeah.
But it's just like the amount of real estate on a planet was too small, because you'd build a base and it would take up like a hemisphere.
Yeah, so I think the only globe map that's actually worked is maybe the original XCOM, and that's because you really didn't do a ton on the actual globe. Like, you just click a few buttons to intercept a UFO and shit, but like, it kept the globe crap simple.
Yeah, what was interesting about the globe there was like radar coverage. It's like, I can't defend the entire planet. I have to decide which countries I'm going to shepherd and which ones I'm going to let go, and so yeah.
It felt like a much bigger problem, and it felt like a much more satisfying problem to solve, rather than Planetary Annihilation, which was,
Speaking about
Yeah.
XCOM, so they have that like War of the Chosen that's coming out,
Yeah.
which I don't know very much about.
I don't
other
either.
than it's going to release it. It's going to be DLC that's like full price of a game.
It's like
right?
$30.
And it's like, ooh, really? Yeah.
No, 40.
No, 40.
40
Oh, God, it's 40. What?
However, from the stuff that I've seen of it, and that I've been looking into this, it's going to be worth the cost.
Okay,
It does
so
look pretty
it's not
big.
just adding some hero units for the aliens, because the last time they did that, it was bullshit. Like, if you've ever had, like, what's his name, like King Viper or whatever, that asshole, like, it can just show up randomly anytime in your campaign, and it's like, if you're not teched up, you're just done, right? And it's like, oh, I got these guys, I've been through like 10 missions, and then that asshole shows up and just wipes me, and it's like, so I didn't dig that.
So some of the stuff
hopefully
they've
not
added, one of the things they've added is there's a stamina system. So what you used to be able to do in the previous XCOM games is that you'd have your squad, the alpha squad, the best of the best, and you'd send them out every damn time. And you might have a few reserves that you'd throw in there, but with this particular release, they've got this stamina system where if you try to use your people too much, they're going to be much less effective. So you have to switch them out, and you have to not always use the same people every damn time, which is kind of a good thing because, well, if they get killed, then you have replacements that are somewhat trained up. But it's also to keep you from using the same tactics every single time as well, because you've got the skill trees on they've got two versions of the skill tree for each class, and you can actually get all the skills and you can mix and match.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, it looks like they are adding quite a bit to XCOM 2 here. I still need to play XCOM 2, come to think of it. Got it in a bundle. And I haven't even touched it. I haven't even touched it.
I haven't played Long War, which is the mod made for it, and it is a long campaign, lots of grinding.
Would you say it is a long war?
It is literally Long War. Yeah. But the thing is, though, that I'm going to jump on War of the Chosen, absolutely, because I loved XCOM 2. And this thing retools the campaign as well. So you've got more objectives. You have other factions to deal with.
Is this being made by the Long War dudes? Because it's like they put out Long War and then this is coming, or is this Core Fire Axis doing this? Because I know they hired those mod dudes for something.
On that, I'm not entirely sure which team worked on it.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look into it then, because it was just like, I was just like, man, if they're just gonna add like a couple of super units and stuff, then no. But yeah, if they're changing up the game for the better, then maybe it's worth it.
It looks pretty extensive based on the Steam page. It looks like they're adding quite a bit. So I don't know if it's worth 40, but it's more than your usual DLC. This is more like a full blown. I would say this is one of those kind of old style expansions. Actually,
6 months.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of like doing the expanded edition of the campaign kind of thing.
Yeah, 6 months.
Releasing that as a DLC.
6 months, it'll be 50% off, right? Like the next Steam sale.
And then maybe I'll play it.
Wait for that.
Maybe I'll actually play it then. So, anything else you're playing, Spaz?
Let's see. Well, since we're playing Ticket to Ride on Thursday, I've been jumping back into that. That's gonna be fun.
Yeah, I've never played it with other people, just by myself. That's gonna be it's a mean game. We're gonna be hurling all kinds of insults at each other because that is a mean game. Holy shit.
Hey, so there was Shadow Warrior 2 DLC that came out, like Bounty Hunt something.
Oh yeah, that was free. Wasn't that
that's
free?
The last one.
Wasn't that free though? Didn't they add that for free?
Yeah, they just added it. Yeah.
And I think Shadow Warrior is
Oh.
on sale, right? Shadow Warrior 2. Well, you can get Shadow Warrior for free, I think, right now. But Shadow Warrior 2,
Yeah,
I
until
believe.
tomorrow.
Oh, okay. And I believe Shadow
Yeah, you
Warrior
can get
2.
Shadow Warrior for free until tomorrow, and then Shadow Warrior 2 is on sale. Yeah.
Yeah, and Shadow Warrior 2 is a fun time. Oh my god, it's fun. It's so fun. So what I've been playing besides Lord of the Rings Online is some logistical, which is great. I've told you guys about that. I talk about that game a lot. And also some of Titanfall 2's new Frontier Defense mode, which is a blast, absolute blast. It's so fun to not be terrible at that game, because you're all working together at something. So it's so fun not to be awful at it. Because the AI is good. It's not as good as other players, but it's good. But I can get more kills in co-op, you know?
And you can
all.
feel like you're actually accomplishing
Yeah, I can feel much more like a badass, like I'm actually accomplishing something. And speaking of games we're excited to come out, I don't know if you guys have heard that it's coming out in a few days. That's why I want to mention it. It's not a space game. It's called Deadhold. Have you guys heard of this one?
Nope.
It looks like a straight up Myth clone. And so I have to have it because Myth, they had me at Myth. If you guys don't know what Myth is, it was Bungie's deal before Halo. And they made two games. And they're these violent tactical RTS games.
Oh, that's really cool.
That are just super fun, super violent. And this new Deadhold game looks like just people who loved Myth want to be like, what? There needs to be a new Myth. Let's make a new Myth. And that looks like what they've done. So it's
already
got,
have
When
it
does
on
that
my
come out?
wish list.
sorry that?
When does that come out?
Yeah, can you put a link to it in the promenade?
Yeah, I believe a few days.
Yeah, I'm looking at the store page. It's 2 days.
All right, I'm on that.
Yeah.
You know, the game I've got like super boner for is Absolvers. Like
What's
I was
that?
just watching some gameplay stuff for it. Imagine like an open world kind of run around do stuff game, but the combat is all kung fu. Like it's straight out of kung fu movie, kung fu. Like not like Jade Empire kung fu, but it's actually like a fighting game, right? And apparently it's a little bit deck buildery because you actually learn kung fu moves as cards, and then you build a deck of these are my moves for my fighter, and it's up to 4-player co-op. So kung fu Skyrim with 4-player co-op. There you go.
Well, I wish listed the fuck out of that. Excuse me. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, there's the other thing about that, which is that there's a teacher system wherein if you master your particular skill set, you can actually teach that to other players, that combination to other players.
Whoa.
Oh, awesome.
Whoa. That's awesome.
Because you can only learn, you can only master your own style, and then, well, you can teach that to other players, and then you can learn their styles if they have mastered it.
Oh shit! I got another wish of mine fulfilled today.
Which
I just noticed. October 5th, Steve Jackson Games is releasing Ogre, the board game, on PC. Like, wow, that's been a long time coming, about 30 years.
Yeah, because the last one, didn't that come out in the 80s? Wasn't that an Origin game?
Yeah.
From
Yeah.
like 87?
Yeah, it was like 30 something years ago. Yeah. And yeah, it's been a long time. And I'm looking forward to this Dark Future game, which is basically Car Wars on PC. Speaking of Steve Jackson stuff, but this is Games Workshop's version of Car Wars, which is basically like a cross between Judge Dredd and Mad Max. So if that tickles your fancy,
That does tickle all my fancies. All the fancies
yeah,
are tickled.
Arok's making it, so it should be pretty all right.
Ooh. Oh, I've been just writing down all the games we've been playing, to put them in the notes, and there's like 30 fucking games here. Oh my god! So we've been busy. That's pretty awesome. But what we wanted to talk about tonight, after let's talk news real quick, because we need to talk about Battlefront 2. We need to talk about this. I don't know if y'all saw, but there was a new video released which actually shows space fighter combat in the new Battlefront. They've
been hitting hard the news about the space fighter content.
Oh yeah, I know people that got Total Wood from the Flyable Slave one, and it actually really looks like original like Battlefront 2 space combat, which is not a bad thing because that was really fun space combat. Just of course a lot prettier. But like they've shown it, but like I don't know a lot about the details. Do any of you guys know like what kind of modes they're available with the space combat? Is it like just straightforward deathmatch? Is it like
it's a combination of what we've already seen before with there's going to be the team-based stuff, the objective-based things. There's going to be like missions. I posted a video earlier, and they're doing the different eras stuff. But in the one video they're showing, it's like Poe Dameron's like X-wing versus Darth Vader's TIE fighter, and I don't know. If I'm going to do objective-based stuff like that, I want it to be more based in reality to like what I'm flying. Like if I'm going to be flying this
to the era, you mean?
Right? Yeah. Thank you. Like that. The cross era stuff, I guess, is okay in a sense because it's a video game and people can do whatever they want. But I don't know.
Well, to be fair, the previous Battlefront games actually had that, mixing of heroes. So it's not unprecedented. It's not like this is a new thing. I mean, you could run around on Tatooine and have Darth Maul fighting against Yoda, and then in the same map you've got Vader fighting against Luke and old Obi-Wan and young Obi-Wan. I mean, that sort of thing. You could have the heroes running around doing that, so it's not like it's unprecedented.
That's fair.
No, you're right. I don't know. I'm really, when it comes to the new Battlefront game, I am more interested in the campaign that they're offering, right? Because I'm kind of curious about what they're doing with that, because in reality, Battlefront 1 was not that interesting to me. It looked pretty and it looked great and it looked glorious and I loved that. But for me, the multiplayer fell short because you can do co-op stuff, but you can only do co-op stuff with 2 people. Like I couldn't do co-op stuff with 3 to 4 people.
What?
If I want to do 3 to 4 people, then you have to do like straight up multiplayer. Yeah, this was like this is one day Jim and someone else and I were like messing around with this, and like, you remember that, Jim? Like we were trying to like get the co-op to work, but you could only do co-op with 2 people directly, like literally 2 people.
That's
Which
ridiculous.
game was it? I looked away.
Battlefront 1.
Oh yeah, Battlefront 1. Right. Yeah, because it was retarded. Yes, it was me and you and Alex. Actually, we're trying to do that. Yeah, it's I don't know, man. All that Starfighter shit. It's like I'm watching that trailer and I'm like, okay, yeah, this is like different missions, same game. Okay, whatever. I mean, they did the staged missions where it's like, okay, this is 3 parts of we're gonna assault a Star Destroyer, right? So it's like, well, first part is we're clearing out the TIE fighters and stuff, and then the second part you have to take down its shields, and then the third part you're actually destroying it or whatever, right? And it's like, yeah, okay. I don't see any difference in this other than like, hey, look, TIE bomber. Oh, hey, look, Darth Maul's ship that can turn invisible.
It's got Yoda's fighter, Yoda's tiny little fighter.
Yeah, the other thing is it's got Darth Maul's Sith starfighter that can cloak, I guess.
Yeah, that would be unbalancing.
Yeah. Apparently it could cloak. Like, who knew?
What? Well,
I didn't. I certainly didn't know.
That ship's too small to carry a cloaking device.
Yeah, Darth Maul's half the man he used to be.
Aw, spoilers. I kind of wish they hadn't brought him back so much in the cartoons. But anyway.
Yeah, me neither.
But when you only got like 2 cool things out of a whole trilogy of movies, you got to use it, man.
I suppose. And it did get us a great scene with mid-era Obi-Wan on Tatooine. That was amazing. But that's really it, you know.
Oh, apparently in the comic book Darth Maul, Son of Dathomir Part 4 is where they introduced Darth Maul's cloaking device on his ship.
Oh, come on.
Jesus. I had to look this up because I'm like, when did it have a cloaking device?
So at least there's a reference to it within the canon. I mean, I guess it's something. It's not entirely an ass pull, but hey, you know.
But again, no ship that small has a cloaking device. They said that. Oh, God. Whatever.
Meanwhile, a Sith infiltrator arrives in orbit carrying both General Grievous and Darth Sidious. After tracking Dooku's location to Dathomir, Sidious orders Grievous to jam the Dathomirian communications and cloak the ship, allowing them to arrive on Dathomir undetected. Maul and the Night Sisters do not see the ship coming and continue with their plan. Blah, 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 blah. Moving on.
God. Okay, never.
Look, I'm really excited that we're getting more Star Wars games. Don't get me wrong. I'm just pissed because as beautiful as these games look, they're just so freaking shallow. Like at the end of the day, I know some people love it, but they love the repetitive. Like we're gonna keep playing these same so many maps and these same so many game modes over and over and over and over again. But to me, that's not what I want from a Star Wars game. And it's kind of weird because back when I was in college, I used to play the crap out of Day of Defeat Source, and that's all that game ever was.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that. Your tastes have evolved. Your tastes have changed. You know, you want more now, which hey, not a thing wrong with that.
Yeah, it's like I used to hate shrimp. Now I like it. I get it.
Exactly. I used to hate. I used to hate cauliflower. Now I really enjoy it. But yeah,
so basically, Battlefront is like going out on a date with somebody that's extremely attractive, but you can't have a conversation for very long because there's just really no substance.
That's a really unique comparison, and I'm sorry for that person that might be like that, but it's kind of true.
It's not. I mean,
at least for the first one, we don't know about the second so much.
Yeah, the second one might be great. I mean, who knows?
That campaign could be a killer campaign, and
well, that's the only thing that would be the case. That's the only thing I have my eyes on really is that campaign. So if it's a solid campaign.
So it might end up being like a Titanfall 2 where the campaign is really the attraction.
And you know, I've been seeing, like, I had that comparison in my mind earlier when I was looking at the stuff for Battlefront 2 and it had a campaign. I'm like, Titanfall 1 didn't really have a campaign, even though they kind of sort of said it did. Battlefront 1 didn't have it, but Battlefront 2 is going to have it, just like Titanfall 2. So this, it could be one of those things where it's just like something about twos. They learn from their mistakes, but you would think that watching the success and failures of Titanfall, they would have known better, but whatever.
Yeah, because it's all EA. It's like, don't you guys talk to each other? I mean, I don't know.
But, speaking of EA,
how
about that Mass Effect Andromeda news, man? Like that.
Yeah, I'm not fully familiar with what happened, so hit me up with that. What's going on?
I'm massively unaffected by it.
So here's what ended up happening. The studio that made Mass Effect Andromeda has shuttered its doors. So that's the first part.
Did the game not do well?
Part of it, the game did not do very well. And
dude, within the first 2 months, you could have gotten that game for 50% off. Like
I've already seen it in the bargain bin. the whatever unmentionable.
The console
score.
version, yeah.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
so the latest update from them is that they're going to put out a few patches for multiplayer, but there will be no patches, no future updates for single player content. The story mode is basically what it is. That's all it is. And the rumor, and I have to stress rumor, is that the franchise is effectively dead at this point.
Thank God, though. To be honest with you, like I kind of saw this coming. I'm gonna say that for this reason. When you have something as successful as the first 3 Mass Effect games, and I talked about this before the show with you guys, Mass Effect 2 arguably the best one in the series. When you have something, even though Mass Effect 3's ending was really like people wanted to piss all over it, the rest of the game up until like the last like 10 minutes of gameplay was actually really good. It was also a really good game.
I would completely agree with you on that. Yeah.
You know, so for them to go and have this beloved lore universe trilogy thing, and then to try and do essentially a spin-off of its own thing set in another galaxy, you've got a lot to live up to, because the Mass Effect trilogy is well beloved. And I equate this to, and for me, this is in my opinion, like, you know, Bungie did Halo. They did Halo stupid well, right? They're the ones that started it. They knew it through and through. And then once 343 got their hands on it, and they kind of switched like the look and feel of Halo a little bit with the newer games, like with Halo 4, Halo 5, you know, so it didn't have, in my opinion, it just wasn't the same. And so then they're also trying to go back through when they're doing the remasters. They're trying to like retcon a few things and add in some more like story elements into like the games that you've already had. It's just like, why would you do that? To me, when you see something like Mass Effect Andromeda, who's made by the B team at the same studio, essentially, it's made by BioWare, but not the same development team that made the first trilogy.
From what I understood, it was a new team that was working on it. They hadn't really done anything else.
Right. So, I mean, it sucks because they put a lot of blood, sweat, and effort into making this. And I mean, as a development team goes, they made a far superior game than, say, like Space Engineers, you know. But at the same time, there was not a lot of QA that was done before it was released. Not enough, in my opinion, because when that game launched, there was, and we're not even talking about like the facial animations. I'm talking about straight up glitches, game characters just floating straight up through the ceiling. Well, lots of little nuanced things like that. Then people wanted to dog on the facial animation stuff, and I think that was a bit much. Like, you know, cut the facial animation some slack. Like, I know it's hard for some people to feel immersed, but really at the end of the day, though, they just did a really bad job. Like, it didn't come out well, and they've patched it since then. And then because of the sheer amount of criticism, I mean, hell, No Man's Sky is sticking it out longer than these guys. And I think No Man's Sky probably faced worse criticism than the Mass Effect Andromeda. Arguably.
I would agree with that.
I thought they were going. I'm sorry. I thought they were going to stop the franchise after 3. So this sounds like it was ill-advised from the get-go. This latest game.
Well, 3 basically ended the prime storyline, if you want to put it that way.
Oh, for God's sake! With Andromeda,
sakes. It was set between. No, well, to be fair, with Andromeda, they set it between 2 and 3. So the events of 3 don't necessarily affect what's happening in Andromeda. So the people in Andromeda don't know what happens at the end of the prime storyline, the main storyline.
Okay, I guess that can work sometimes. Like, what was that Ender's Game book that was the book about his buddy?
Bean. Ender's Shadow.
Yeah, something about a shadow. Yeah.
Ender Shadow.
Yeah, that was great. So it can be done, but it sounds like it wasn't done well here. Which is
it just wasn't done well, unfortunately. And the thing is that if they had a more experienced team, perhaps, and more time to develop, I think they also released too early is the other problem. Right. I think they fell into the same trap as many other developers. They had to release the game because they were getting pressure from the studio to release. And again, with EA breathing down their necks, hey.
Again, this falls back to my QA statement. There was not a lot of quality assurance, or not enough quality assurance put into it before it was released. And that I hate that development cycle though, because Battlefield 4 had the same issues. Or not the same type of issues, but the same development style issues where it released and it was not a great game, but over time they've updated it, they've released a bunch of content, they patched it, and then Battlefield 4 became kind of a great game. The thing that was kind of salty for some people is while they're trying to fix Battlefield 4, they're trying to pimp this new game called Hardline, which was a massive flop. And then now they're trying to do something else. For me, when you see something like Mass Effect Andromeda become such a flop, and then to find out the same team that made the first three is making a new IP, you kind of it feels a little rough because you're just why would you do that? Why would you tell me all of a sudden the same guys that just made this beloved trilogy didn't make the new game, but instead were working on something else?
Because they don't want you to cancel your pre-order, because if you find out that the bench warmers made it, you might get a little nervous.
E3 happened right after Andromeda came out. You know what I'm saying? Andromeda was still Andromeda had hit that rock bottom. All of a sudden E3 hits and you find out BioWare, the same team that does Mass Effect, and you're like, ooh, what?
That's a shame.
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of people who just love Mass Effect. Like some of you guys.
I really liked it was the characters were very interesting. It was one of the few games that I actually felt some investment in the characters because the writing wasn't completely crap. And even when the writing was bad, it was the characters carried it through. So yeah, it was all right.
Like I said, I think 2 is still the best.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
That seems to be the consensus. And I should try playing it again. Maybe I'll just get over the way the character walks.
There's a little bit of jank in the graphics, but honestly, you just get so past that very quickly. And
I'll have to give it another try.
And I would say play it with the combat on easy, because you're there for the story, not for being a pro shooter.
Yeah, maybe that's another thing. I think I usually play everything on normal, so maybe I should just put it on freaking easy.
I would say just turn that crap down and just kind of get the story, right? Because the story is the deal. But it's some people, it's how people come away from Babylon 5, right? And it's just oh man, that show. But I look at Babylon 5 and I'm like, yeah, the graphics are kind of jank, but it doesn't matter, right? Because the story. And
I mean, hell, they use the video toaster to make that, and pretty much anyone at that time could actually get the video toaster and make the same quality graphics.
If you had a super
but the story was damned good.
Right.
That made up for it.
All right. So, wow, that's some awesome news. But let's move on to our topic while we have a little time left.
Helium rain. Is that what we're going to talk about?
Well, I wanted to talk about because this has been a fascinating year for space gaming. I think it's
odd, yeah.
It's been surprising in a lot of ways. So many wonderful surprises we've gotten a lot of shit thrown at us as well. Excuse my language. Garbage. I'm trying to use that word instead. We've got a lot of garbage thrown at us. But for example, the latest surprise has been this Helium Rain game. It's not a fully released game yet. It might not even be a fully released game this year. But we've been enjoying the ever-loving heck out of it. Because like, wow, let's take what we didn't like about Elite and X and streamline it and make it fun. That's kind of what the developer of that game has done. It's like, oh, this game can be fun again. This kind of taxi / haulage, / trade game can be fun again. I forgot about that. Because, like, it's also mired in, like, grind now. Well, especially with Elite and especially with other games. And so it's like, this game is kind of like a breath of fresh air. Like, oh, this system has all the fuel. Okay, this mission needs fuel. I'm going to go there. I should just know that because it's a spaceship with a computer in it. For God's sakes. So it's been that Helium Rain is kind of like, I think, indicative of this year because like so many surprises have come at us, I think. Like, I want to talk about some other surprises, like Starfleet Armada. That came out of goddamn nowhere. Right? And what just a pleasant surprise that was, We've gotten a lot of great stuff this year, like Icarus. Where the hell did that come from?
I mean, Icarus at this point is considered feature complete. The latest update, which was less than 2 weeks ago, introduced the shotgun and assault rifle weapons, and it's considered feature complete right now.
Which is fine. Which is totally fine. I mean, he feels it's done. Let him move on to something more awesome, like Icarus 2.
Exactly.
Maybe.
Exactly.
Why not? I mean, Icarus was $5. There's so much gameplay in there for $5 goddamn dollars.
We cannot recommend it highly enough.
Oh my God. But like, I was looking at just on the wiki to like, there have been other games this year that I just haven't really tracked as much because they're like $2 space shooters that look like they last half an hour. But like serious, like.
Well, I was gonna say there were Starport Gemini Warlords.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's not one of those games. Like there have been 24 games at least that have been like hit 1.0 this year. We're not even talking early access like Avorion and what was that other one? Lightspeed Frontier and stuff like that. There have been 24 games came out this year, and most of them have been really, really good. Like, there have been some shit. Like, what was that? Constellation Distantia? I don't know if you guys played that. I don't know if you guys played that or watched the video, but that was a pile of junk. And Star Smashers, which made me want to break my computer. But we've also had Next Jump Shmup Tactics, which I don't know if you guys have played, but that was excellent. Galaxy of Pen and Paper, fantastic. Everspace, so good. It's been like a shocking amount of, and it's only August. Like we have 4 months, and there's so many more games coming out this year. Slated to, at least.
Rumor has it Star Citizen 3.0 may or may not come out this year, so we're still waiting.
Yeah.
Did
they push it back?
Everspace, by the way, just released a hardcore mode. As if it wasn't hard enough. They just put out a hardcore mode in the last week or so.
Everspace.
Yeah.
Yeah, Everspace. That I don't know if you guys paid attention, but not just you guys here, but like people listening. Everspace had a massive update that added a hardcore mode, HOTAS, and track IR support. It's using a newer version of Unity now, or Unreal now. Massive, huge, gigantic update.
And the game is so pretty.
It's so pretty, and even on an older game like mine. Even on an older machine like mine, it runs like butter.
Now, have you done the action freeze yet, Brian?
What's that? No, apparently not. What is that?
Okay, so anytime you're in combat, there's actually an option for action freeze, and you can even do it as a key toggle. And what it does is it puts the game into photo mode. It freezes all the action in place, and you can spin the camera around, take your screenshots, have the UI completely off, and take your pretty screenshots with it. It's great.
Oh God! So it's like a wallpaper. They know how pretty their game is, and they're like, "You want wallpaper? Here, have."
Yep.
Oh, I have to use that now because it's such a pretty game, you guys. I can't imagine
No,
playing it
seriously,
with
in combat with a ton of ships around you. Do it.
I can't
It
imagine.
freezes the action, so it's
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I was just gonna say I can't
right.
imagine playing with a Hodge. It would feel so slow because that game is made for mouse and keyboard. It's so made for mouse and keyboard. But I love how that the option is there. I gotta try the track IR actually now. So what would you? Let's start, Jim. Let's start with you. What do you think is your biggest, like, what would you say is the biggest surprise in space gaming this year so far for you? Like, if either a game or a trend, what comes to mind?
Helium rain.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair.
Shocking.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've been on this podcast, and for the last 5 years, I've been yelling that somebody needs to make Railroad Tycoon in space. Right.
Sure.
So what we got here, Helium Rain is if you took X3 and Railroad Tycoon in space, and you kind of marry that together, and
right.
and it's a cool indie thing, and the devs are like super responsive about this. Like I've suggested a couple of features, and I'm looking at them in the game already. Like 2 days later.
Like we have the dev on our Discord, and he is like super awesome, nice. I mean, all the devs we talk to are super awesome.
I have the dev locked in my basement. That's why I'm getting the response time.
I gotta tell you, I'm not a fan of the X games because, like I've said, it feels like you're flying an office, like instead of a spaceship. But with this game, I feel like an independent contractor who happens to own a spaceship.
Yeah. Well, what goes on is that you'll get missions, right? It's very good about keeping the carrot on the stick. Okay. And what it does, the game, it gives you some tutorial missions, right? Where it guides you through, like, okay, you got this ship. So go to the map and then click on that sector and then click on fly to, and then hit accelerate time. And, it'll take, because there is no faster than light here.
Nope.
It's like humanity went on a colony ship, and they got to this planet, and it's a gas giant, and they set up like a base, and some of the people kind of mutinied and were like, screw that, we're taking the colony ship and leaving. So now these people are stranded, and there is no going back, right? So they're living out there. So there's I think he said there's like 25 or 29 sectors that are out here, but they don't give them to you all at once. You kind of discover it. It unlocks as you progress through the game, which is good because like the economy in here kind of gets bigger, right? So it shows you a very small economy at first. It's like, okay, well, there's fuel and food and plastic, right? And this place needs plastic. So dock there, and it teaches you how to dock the ship, which is a manual docking. And if you thought docking in Elite was something, this is more like docking at the International Space Station, right? You got to bump noses.
But it's still accessible. And, like they make it
is
accessible, which is great.
And it's keyboard and mouse controls, and the mouse controls are good. So I have no desire to hook a joystick up to play this thing at all. I'm cool with WSAD and the mouse. There's a lot of autopilot that can go on. In fact, the first technology that I researched was the auto docking computer, and I hit a button and my ship will just like fly across the sector and click onto the base, and we're done. So while my ship is docking, this is the beauty of this game. You don't own just one ship, right? You can go to the shipyard and queue up a ship, and the shipyard will be building ships for other people.
Mm-hmm.
So like other factions and stuff. And I see this diplomacy menu, and there's like, I don't know, 10, 14 other companies that are here. And I have not gotten into conflict with them yet, but I've been docked to a station when they decided like, hey, we're going to invade and steal that station.
It's crazy, right?
And I'm sitting there, and what it reminds me of is, remember Children of a Dead Earth, whenever you're playing, and it's like it's more NASA looking than Star Trek looking, right? Because the ships are not like X-wings and stuff, right? It's actually like a spaceship looks like a spaceship today, right? It's a tube with like a cockpit on it. but there's no wings or any of that. The ship that you start with looks like the Soyuz. It's like a ball with a fuel tank bolted on the back and a little tiny rocket, right? And so it's like whenever you fly somewhere, it's like the waypoints you start out with, they're just in a ring around this gas giant because everything orbits the gas giant. And then there's like 4 moons that I see so far of the gas giant, and those have places around them too. So it was like, well, I want to get a ship built. This place ran out of steel. And then I pull up the commodity thing. Well, there's an economy menu that's right off of the orbit map. And I look at the economy and it's like, okay, I want to get steel. And I pull down the drop down and I click steel. And then it does the magic trick that Elite can't figure out. It shows me every place that I could buy steel, every place that I could sell steel, and what all the prices are from the last time that I was there, or, however aware I am of the economy. And I don't know if it updates that in real time or if I have to like have a ship go there at some point or what, but it gives you an initial base figure of this is what things are. And it shows you like how much has the price changed in the last, like month or whatever. Oh, this thing's up 4%. And you can tell, and it also says like how much they have on hand, right? So there's one colony that's kind of getting desperate for food because they produce no food and they consume like 20 a day. And they've got like 10 in stock right now. And then a mission popped and it was like, hey, here's a quest, pick food up from here, deliver it over there. And I don't have to do that because I own a second ship because I built the thing in the shipyard. So what I did was I go to the nav screen and I pick on the place where the food is because I looked on the economy screen. I know who sells it and who wants it. So I click on I keep wanting to say system, but it's sector because you're all in the same solar system. You never leave the solar system, I don't think. So I click on the sector and it's like fly there, dock with that farm, and buy food. And my ship takes off, right? It's very much like an X game in that way. And then when the ship gets there, it gives, because I compress time a little bit and I'm off flying. I'm doing another mission while this ship just autopilots out there. And then it docks and I say, okay, buy this much food. Now fly over there and sell it. And at the beginning part, because it releases function in the game in stages, right? So it teaches me like, okay, you bought a second ship. This is how to put it in a fleet. This is how to separate it out and put it in a secondary fleet by itself. Hey, now that it's in a secondary fleet, here's how you tell it to go somewhere. Here's how you remotely trade with it, stuff like that. But you have to control it every step of the way. Well, then after I do this mission and I've proven to the game, like, oh, I know how to do that. Then it says, oh, by the way, we got trade routes. And then what you can do, there's up to 4 stages that you can do in this thing. And it's like a trade route in Elite, right? Where I dock at this station, I buy commodity 1, and then I fly to the next hop and I sell that and I buy commodity 2, and then I fly to the next hop, right? And then it's a circle because I end up back at the first station, but I can do up to 4 stops. And just using the price sheet, it's like I can figure out like who, because it might be that, oh, well, I could buy water and then I can sell water for a really good profit. The problem is that people aren't huge consumers of water at this point. So it's like, yeah, I can get a really good markup on it, but I can only sell like 100 units. Or, and the ship that I've got, it can carry like 200 units on it. So it's like, well, that's not going to give me a full ship, but I could carry this other thing that sells for less profit, but I can carry more of it. And the trade route is shorter, right? Because you're dealing with like days and weeks of travel time, because this is very much like I'm flying from, Earth to the moon. It takes a week. And that's this game, right? It's like, I gotta orbit around this place. This planet looks to be about the size of Saturn or Jupiter or something, right? So it's like, I gotta orbit around this planet to get to that station on the other side. That's going to take me 6 days. Or I'm going to fly out to this planet's moon. That's 14 days. So I got to think about that. Like, how many trips can I make? How much profit per trip? How much do they produce there? Because it might be a profitable run, but I can haul it faster than they can make it. So I'm going to bleed the factory dry. And then I got to come up with another route because my ship will just sit there and wait till it fills up. So yeah, there's all this economy stuff going on. And I'm playing this thing and I'm just like, I could never get into the X games because the stuff was just too obtuse. It's got this going on. And you can build stations, right? Like I'm waiting on a ship to get done. And this is the supply and demand thing of this economy again. There's a place called the Forge. It makes steel, oddly enough, and they consume fuel. And I can get fuel from a sector called the Spire, and more about that place in a minute. So I get fuel from the Spire, and I bring it to the Forge, and that's, they can refine their steel, but they need iron ore to do it. Well, the iron ore is getting mined off that planet, and it trickles in. They only get like 5 units a day. Right. And I need like 1,000 units to build this ship. So I'm going to be playing this game for a year before my ship gets built. So this sucks. But then the game's like, oh, you can build a station. Hey, if you run enough of these quest missions and you get rewarded research points, you can unlock mining technology. Yeah. And you can build your own mining station. And you can be making the money for mining that iron that seems to be in such short supply. And that will also speed up the construction of your ship because now that factory is going to make much more steel. So you can do it in there and fix that problem, right? So it's kind of like, yeah, I'm looking at this and it's like, okay, well, I want the ship and I have to get the steel, but he's short the iron. So I have to become the iron mine. Okay, well, how do I do that? Well, now I got to look at what contract missions I'm being offered that are going to pay off research points. So the carrot is on the stick, and Elite cannot do this to me. So it's beautiful, and it's I don't know, the lore stuff isn't in here yet, so there's not a lot of flavor things. There's not a lot of description of the stuff, and I'm talking to the dev about like, yeah, you could put like all this stuff in there, but I know this is like late. It's like hammer out the mechanics now, but let's, talk about like way down the road as this thing's wrapping up. Here's like a whole bunch of stuff that you could put in here that would flesh this world out. Honestly, this game, if you're a fan of The Expanse,
it kind of does feel like that a bit.
Yeah,
it kind of does feel like that a bit.
Very much like The Expanse. So it's not Star Wars, it's The Expanse. Like and the ships. Oh, have you checked the box for the ship can't decelerate? You can only use the engine on the back. Yeah, there's a box under controls. You have to flip 180 to slow down.
Well, that's cool if you want that. Way. I don't want that. That's cool if you want that, though.
You have an option. But the thing is, though, I think it's kind of irrelevant, though, because if you get going fast, like your main engine puts out 10 times the thrust that your little attitude jets will do, right? And you're using the attitude jets on the front to slow down. So it'll take me 10 times more to slow down than it did to get to that speed, which is fine. Because if I'm going too fast, I'm going to just whiz right past the station that I want to dock at. And then I have to turn around and retro burn and then go back there. So, and then whenever you're doing docking, it's just like, I get this thing down to like 1 meter a second and you just kind of creep it up till it bumps, and then I put the auto dock thing on and I was just like, okay, well, that's a skill I don't need anymore.
I still like doing it manually. I still like doing it manually once in a while just to keep fresh. But yeah.
Oh yeah. Nice. You totally got the option. And if you jack up your ship and your docking stuff gets busted, then you're docking manual. Like I had a ship. Whenever they came in, okay, like I was saying, like that Children of a Dead Earth, whenever those ships in Children of a Dead Earth are firing rail guns at each other, you've witnessed this, right? Where it's like they're firing bullets, but it looks like lasers because it's just big red streaks.
It's goddamn terrifying. It's goddamn terrifying.
Yeah, and then whenever the bullets hit the armor, they actually ricochet. So it's almost like you have a fire hose of bullets hitting, and then they spray around, right? It looks almost like a sparkler. Yeah, that happens in here. So it's like wow. I had 2 ships that were shooting the shit out of the station that I was on, and I got hit by a ricochet, and it jacked my ship up.
Oh no!
like I lost like half a bar of thrusters off the front, and then it's just like, oh, I can't slow down. Oh shit! Bang! And I hit the station because it's like I can't change course or anything. It's like, oh god, I can't slow down. So if you hit the X key, the autopilot will invert the ship 180 degrees. And I mean, it's like playing asteroids at that point whenever your front burners are out. So it's just like I can't do anything but the main engine in the back, and even that thing was screwed up. But I'm hoping that there's stuff, because there's like a crew life meter thing in here, and it's kind of like you can get yourself killed, but the ship isn't destroyed. I've seen ships like come out of combat with like chunks shot off, and they're drifting, but it's like the ship, it's waiting on repairs, right? But it's just like drifting, tumbling dead through space. And it's like,
that's awesome.
That's kind of cool. So it's like, all right, now I want an option, because it's like, you screwed up, you showed me that, now I want an option to specifically target components on a ship, right? But what this game reminds me of, and I gotta just put this in front of Ken Burnside and just be like, Ken, this is it, because his game, Attack Vector Tactical, and this game have a whole lot in common. So yeah, this is like,
I have a feeling this is more accessible.
Oh, it is. But if he made Attack Vector a PC game, it would look a lot like this.
It'd be a lot like this. Yeah, it would be.
Even some of the ships are shaped like that, right? I mean, it's like, yeah, it looks like the Discovery, but it's got guns sticking out the nose, right? And that's the thing, right? It's not like pew pew lasers, you know. It's like they've got like mass drivers on them and stuff, and yeah. I'm completely enamored with this game.
Yeah,
and it makes me want to get the X games out and screw around with those again.
You'll just be disappointed.
Apparently there's a lot of development that's gone into the Star Wars mod, total conversion mod for X3.
What? There is one?
Oh yeah,
that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, apparently. Well, I've been watching some YouTube videos, but apparently the developers put a lot of stuff out. So much so that he's added a faux like planetary landing system. So it's very reminiscent. Well, it's very reminiscent of X-Wing versus TIE Fighter or X-Wing Alliance mods. That essentially what it is. It's the like you enter a new sector, and it's got a skybox that makes it look like you're on a planetary surface, and then it's just a giant space station essentially that is acting as the ground. So like he was able to actually like dock on like a tower on Coruscant, for example. This person was, and but it looked kind of like he was on Coruscant, but it was like a faux thing. It's very kind of cool how they did it.
You'll have to share like a link to that mod, because I need to try that. But Hunter, what would you say is your biggest surprise of this year so far?
You know, I honestly I don't know. Like I haven't really been playing a whole boatload of new games.
That's fair.
I was shocked at how addictingly fun and frustrating PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds was. Like that kind of took me for a surprise, because I usually don't jump on like the latest trend games right away, but it was just so overwhelmingly like all over the place. I was like, well, I gotta give this a try, and sure enough, it's pretty addicting. I think the announcement and release of StarCraft Remastered was a bit of a shock. I did not expect to see that, and the way they implemented it is also pretty cool. So yeah, I don't know. Like I'm pleased with what I've been seeing out there as far as games are concerned. But I just don't think I've really been.
Well, you've had a busy year. You've had a busy year.
Yeah, it's been kind of like a weird year for me personally, but yeah.
Spaz, what about you? Do you have a game that really took you by surprise this year?
Well, a few. Icarus is definitely one of them, because
Absolutely.
Well, yeah, there's just no question. It came out of nowhere, and Space Tyrant's another one, actually.
Oh right, yes.
And that I was not expecting it to be as good as it was. I wasn't expecting it to be bad either. It's just I wasn't looking for a game that was just that good for what it is, kind of a beer and pretzels kind of strategy game, and yet there it was. I didn't know I was looking for a game like that until I found it.
Yeah, I need to play more of it. It's really good. It's really, really good, you guys. Space Tyrant. It's got so much to it. It doesn't look deep, but it is. It so is. And we did a podcast with them a little while back, so go check that out. That was a lot of fun, actually. What? Oh, the thing that
it doesn't look deep, but it is.
Well, yeah, it looks kind of like a basic game on the face of it, but like it's got so much going on.
I understand.
It's very accessible. Very accessible.
Exactly.
Well, it's like that Starfleet game that we had the guy on.
Yeah.
It's like, to me, it's like I loaded that thing up and I was just like, eh. And then when you guys got to play in it, it was just like, oh God, there's like all this crazy.
Yeah.
Good. I still have to get that thing loaded up and screw around with it.
So
because of the aspect ratio of my monitor and it's locked to full screen, I had to put it on my laptop to actually play it. And
yeah, technically it's kind of an odd duck, but gameplay wise, it's so good.
So much under the hood.
That might be my biggest surprise of the year, honestly, is Starfleet Armada. That game came out of nowhere, and it's like scratched every 90s itch I have, just about. It's just such good stuff. It's been a really great year, and it's only August. We still have 4 months left. September, 4 months. Sorry, we have 4 months left of just who knows what coming out. Because like there was a game that came out today that like none of us saw on the upcoming games list or whatever. I forget what it's called now, but that came out of nowhere. So just so many surprises this year, I think. We should probably start wrapping it up. We've been going almost 2 hours. So folks, what's up?
What's that other game that God, the one that's shocked me that's coming out this year, that Battlestar game.
Oh, Battlestar Galactica, Deadlock. Yeah, that comes out.
I've been hearing nothing but good things about that, like from the reviews and the people that have got like early access to it. I think for me, that's, even though I haven't played it yet, I think for me that I would have to say that's actually my biggest surprise was seeing that, who it was being developed by, the gameplay style, everything about it so far is looking promising.
And so that comes out Thursday.
Even though I haven't played it yet, I think I'm definitely surprised and looking forward to it.
Yeah, that comes out next week, the 31st, I believe. So next Thursday, I think. Yeah, next Thursday. I've been trying to get us copies of that, I'll just say, and I don't know why I'm being ignored. But anyway, because I want to play it. But that's from the same guys who did Starhammer, The Vanguard Prophecy, which is a great game. So they definitely have their ship-to-ship combat bona fides. So I am super excited to play that one. I'm right there with you. I cannot play that one. Wait to play that one. Oh, my God. So, folks, that's going to do it for this episode. Next week on the show, we are going to have, like a little while back, you may recall, we had Trevor Sorensen on, and he helped create the Starfleet games from the 80s. Starfleet 2, Star Legion.
Oh, that guy?
Yeah. Well, we're having his partner on, who worked on not only the Starfleet games, but the classic Empire series, at least a couple of them. I think it was the first Empire, maybe Empire Deluxe. There were a few Empire games, if I recall. There was Empire Deluxe. I believe there was Empire 2. So Mark Baldwin, one of the lesser-known Baldwins, probably, will be joining us next week to talk classic space and terrestrial gaming, because he worked on the Starfleet games as well, along with Empire, which, if you don't know what Empire is, it's a very seminal strategy game. Like, a lot of people think a lot of Civilization, for example, came from the ideas in Empire. Came out in the mid to late 80s. It was on like every platform back then. And it was one of the first grand strategy games that I played. And that I clicked with because it was very accessible for a game of its time. So really looking forward to that. And now that we're back on track for our Thursday streams, this coming week is board game night. So we're going to be playing some Ticket to Ride, the hyper-competitive train game that I'm hoping we still have a friendship afterwards, because I cannot imagine that game not being...
Virtual tables may be flipped.
Yes. It looks very competitive, very cutthroat. So that's going to be fun. So, folks, again, I want to thank you for your patience during the hiatus. It was really nice having some time off, but I'm super happy to be back. And can't wait to talk to you all on Thursday. Thank you, everyone. We had a lot of people in the chat room. We had about 20 people in the chat rooms tonight on YouTube, on Twitch, and Discord talking about stuff. So thank you, everyone, for hanging out. And thank you, everyone, for watching and listening. And we will see you next week. Have a great one, y'all. Bye-bye.